Tashidelek and welcome to Tibet This Week, a weekly feature in English that tells you about this week's news on Tibet, His Holiness the Dalai Lama and Central Tibetan Administration. Let's look at the headlines first. Fostering critical thinking and an inquiring mind, His Holiness the Dalai Lama inaugurates course on secular ethics. His Holiness the Dalai Lama expresses regret over inability to visit Botswana. CDA President speaks on Tibet and Australia. How can democracy survive a rising China at the National Press Club in Australia? CDA President greets India on 71st Independence Day. On Monday this week, His Holiness the Dalai Lama graced the launch of a unique course on secular ethics for higher education at the Tata Institute of Social Sciences in Mumbai. The course was developed at the Convention Center of the Institute under the guidance of His Holiness, which aims to foster critical thinking and an inquiring mind. In his inaugural address, His Holiness said, "The existing education system is oriented more towards materialistic development, but if we can incorporate secular ethics such as compassion and warm-heartedness in our education system, we can bring about a huge change." His Holiness the Dalai Lama has long emphasized on secular ethics through transformation of the existing education system as a response to the complex challenge of race, religious, and economic divides faced by the humanity. His Holiness lauded the Institute's foresighted initiative in introducing a special program dedicated to secular ethics. On Sunday last week, Tibetan spiritual leader His Holiness the Dalai Lama extolled secularism practiced in India and emphasized that India's example of peaceful existence of different religions in the country should be followed all over the world at the Interfaith dialogue held in Mumbai. His Holiness said, "It's unthinkable that religious faith should be a source of conflict. However, there are places now where conflict takes place within the same faith between Sunni and Shia traditions, for example, something not seen in India." His Holiness further said, "In this country, ahimsa has for thousands of years characterized the path of action, but it is related to being motivated by karuna or compassion." On Wednesday last week, His Holiness the Dalai Lama delivered the keynote address at the annual memorial lecture for late veteran Indian journalist Rajendra Mathur in Delhi. In his address, His Holiness the Dalai Lama narrated on the evolution of Tibetan democracy and spoke on his fourth commitment in life, which is the revival of ancient Indian knowledge of Nalanda University in India. Speaking on the role of media, His Holiness stressed that the role of media is to inform and educate people on what is happening around, but that should be objective based on truth and facts. Media should not be biased and discard any group, community, or party affiliation. It should work for the people, His Holiness said. The Tibetan spiritual leader, His Holiness the Dalai Lama, sent a video message to the President of Botswana, Ian Khama, and the organizers of the Mind and Life Conference in Botswana for not being able to attend the conference as scheduled. "I want to express my heartfelt regrets for not being able to attend the conference. Since I received the invitation about a year ago, I was very excited. However, due to the busy schedule of the last 2 months, I'm feeling extremely tired physically," His Holiness said. His Holiness further called the cancellation as a mere postponement and expressed hope for another opportunity to come soon. Speaking directly to the President Ian Khama, His Holiness expressed his gratitude to the President for his sincere efforts and genuine interest in His Holiness the Dalai Lama's visit to the country. On Tuesday last week, President Dr. Lobsang Sengke of the Central Tibetan Administration spoke at the National Press Club of Australia, based in Canberra, on the topic Tibet and Australia, how can democracies survive a rising China? Eminent journalists and editors from leading Australian dailies and media houses attended the talk. Chris Almond, a writer and a veteran Australian journalist known for his acerbic political observations, moderated the talk. President Dr. Lobsang Sangye in his talk spoke about how China occupied Tibet using tactics of carrot and stick to win over the native population, and what Australia and the world can learn about China from it. Dr. Sangye said, to understand China, you have to understand Tibet narrative. Without understanding the Tibet issue, you can never figure out China and their ideology. On Wednesday last week, President Dr. Lobsang Sangye of the Central Tibetan Administration briefed the Human Rights Subcommittee of the Australian Parliament about the ground situation inside Tibet and the violation of basic human rights by the Chinese authorities. Dr. Sangye also spoke about the forced relocation of Tibetan pastoral nomads from the high grasslands into concrete buildings, destroying not only their traditional lifestyle but also the grassland which they profess to be safeguarding. He demanded that China should make Tibetans the custodian of Tibetan environmental conservation. President Dr. Sangye further spoke about the middle way approach, the official policy of Central Tibetan Administration to resolve the Tibet issue. Dr. Sangye also gave a talk on the question of Tibet in the international law, Chinese constitution and domestic law at the Australian National University, hosted by ANU College Associate Professor Alice Bruce. While in Melbourne, President Dr. Sangye gave an interview to ABC News where he said, "What you see now is the same Confucius-based nationalist expansionist policy with all the neighboring countries." Dr. Sangye cautioned people in Australia and reminded the rest of the world, including Australia, that what happened to Tibet could happen to you. The president concluded his Tri-City tour of Australia on Sunday last week. The president of Central Tibetan Administration, Dr. Lobsang Sangye, congratulated India on the 70th anniversary of its Independence Day. This administration is observing the day with a wish and prayer that India becomes the greatest country in the world. We hope India's economy flourish and its stature enhance in the world, and the people of this country are able to reap the benefits of their country's progress, he said. So much for this week. See you next Friday. Have a good weekend.